it's Julia and welcome back to my channel. Isn't this just fun? I love making and drawing little whimsical girl faces. This week I turned them into sunglass cases, and today I thought I would share with you how I take a sketch and put it on a piece of fabric. I have found that the easiest way to draw eyes is just to put funky sunglasses on them, and so they make wonderful little sunglass cases, and these are going into my Etsy shop. And so if any of you are interested, the link is down below for my Etsy shop. They're just a lot of fun, so let's get started. I have 3 different variations of the same girl. This PDF printable is also available in my Etsy shop, and the link will be down below. That I use for all these eyeglass cases, and I use exactly the same face. I just changed some of the hairdos and some of the accessories. I'm going to be getting into how I actually constructed the eyeglass case or sunglass case a little bit later, but I wanted just to point out that there is a lining fabric and then an outer fabric, which is a drop cloth, a canvas drop cloth, and then the accessories on the little gal is the same fabric as the lining fabric. For instance, this one has the earrings and the sunglasses, and this one has the headband and the sunglasses, and then of course the little outfit. And then this one has, again, the hair accessory, the little flower, the little outfit, and the sunglasses. And it just makes it a lot easier. So I use the same face shape for all of them. Now, to get the face shaped right and in the right place on the little eyeglass case, I am using freezer paper to do this. I find that this is just the easiest. I can't see through this canvas, so I can't trace on it. And I've tried other things, and if anybody has another method of doing this, please leave it in the comments. I know there are some, like tracing paper just doesn't work on fabric. I haven't had any luck with it. And I do know that there are some certain tracing marking type pens, quilting things. I haven't had the greatest luck with those either. They seem to spread out once you iron them on. And so this just seems to work. But I don't like to get a lot of detail on it because it's hard to get to rip off all the freezer paper if you get a lot of detail. And so I am not going to be, at this point, putting on any of the hair. I'm just doing the basic structure of the face. And I can just trace on the freezer paper, and this has the waxy side down, and so the papery side is up. And I'm just going to be tracing, like I said, that face. Onto the eyeglass case itself, I do use a double-sided fusible foam for my eyeglass cases. It measures 7 inches high, 8 inches across, and then I have a little dip cut out of it. I do cut a piece of the outer fabric and the lining fabric approximately a ½ inch larger all the way around. Because this is a double-sided or fusible on both sides, in order to get this ironed on, I get it positioned right on my piece of fabric, flip it over, and then iron. I find that it does not stick, or the heat does not go all the way through to stick to the other side, so you don't have to worry about this sticking to your whatever surface you're ironing on. Once the fusible foam is in place, I like to fold it in half and just get the foam even, just to get the placement correct for my little girl. And then I go ahead and I iron this on. Now the waxy side is down, so I'm just going to iron this right into place. Now this is ready to be taken to the sewing machine. And with black thread, I'm going to use my free motion stitching and stitch right on the line, right through the contact paper, or right through the freezer paper, and it'll go right through the foam. I have black thread on both the bobbin and the top. I have my feed dogs dropped, and I have my free motion foot on. To start this, I always do a little back and forth motion just to lock the stitch. and then I'm ready to start sewing. When you see me push my thumb up on the top there, I'm cutting. I have an automatic thread cutter on this sewing machine, and I'm cutting my thread before I go on to the next area to stitch. And now I'm carefully removing that freezer paper. I use a seam ripper just to get into the little places, just to remove all that paper. And now to do the applique, and I use Heat and Bond Light for this, and I'm going to be tracing the sunglasses and the earrings. Both of these will be used, I will use the lining fabric for, and I'm also going to be tracing the inside of the glasses, and this I'm going to be ironing onto just some solid black fabric. And then onto the ironing, I will be placing my little pieces of Heat and Bond Light right onto the back side of my fabrics. And onto the fussy cutting. This is just pretty fiddly, but just take your time and just cut those little pieces out. Just laying them on. I also love this little piece of vintage lace. This actually was a tablecloth, and I'm going to be adding that as the little blouse of this doll. And I just use the fabric tack glue for that. I will be adding stitching to that middle part. I'm using my Friction pens by Pilot to sketch on the hair. Using my design just as a guideline here. This doesn't have to be exact. And I'm just showing you how easily those pens can be removed just with a little bit of your heat of your iron. And then just getting that back on. You always want to test these pens. They work wonderful for lightweight fabrics or light colored fabrics like this drop cloth. But they do have a tendency to leave marks on darker fabrics. So always test before you use it. I'm just back to my sewing machine again, and I'm going over all my original stitching just to get that a little bit more pronounced, and then doing my applique, and I'm just outlining those appliques with stitching. This hair is just a lot of fun. I'm just going back and forth and just doing a real curly type stitch. And now to remove all my pen marks. And now I'm ready to finish my construction of my sunglass cases, putting the right sides together. So my lining and my outer fabric are right sides together, and I'm marking an opening on the side of the sunglass case, and then using my Wonder clips just to keep everything together. I'll be taking this to the sewing machine now, and I like to run my stitching right next to the fusible foam and back stitching on the opening part. And once that is stitched, I go ahead and I trim the seam allowance, but I leave the seam allowance at its full width at that opening. I do like to clip this curve too, being careful not to cut through my stitches. And then to turn this inside out, basically getting my fingers in there and turning this so that the right sides are out, using my pokey tools to get the corners. And then I press under that
seam allowance on that opening and iron that into place. Top stitch across the top of this, and then fold it, and then top stitch the side and the bottom edge, securing that with the back stitch.
The favorite part of this project for me is to be able to add the color and to paint my little girl. Now you can use many different types of product for this. This is not a washable. I guess you could wash these, but I mean it's not really one of those things that you're gonna, you know, have to be concerned about washing too much. And so that you have a lot of possibilities. I did for mine a combination of acrylic. This one is done all in acrylic, inexpensive craft paint that I picked up at Walmart. And so if you have some of those colors in your stash, you can certainly just use acrylic paint for this. I love my Inktense pencils. They give a watercolor look to fabric and they are permanent. On a lot of my little gals, I did a combination, the Inktense, and then some of the darker, more opaque places, for instance, the lips and the hair, I used my Pitt pens. The Pitt pens are a wonderful option if you want to invest in this type of thing for fabric. They are waterproof. They're an Indian ink. And what I love about these versus, for instance, like a Sharpie pen, Sharpies is alcohol ink and has a tendency to seep into the fibers, whereas the Indian inks will stay on top. So they're really nice for this type of a thing. So I picked out a few colors that I'm going to use for this, and also a couple colors of Durant Inktense pencils. Now, one of the things with the Inktense pencils is they do need to be activated. And I am going to be activating with a fabric medium. This is one by Golden. You can also activate them with water. I do like using the fabric medium because it's a little bit thicker than water and it doesn't, you know, bleed out as much. But in this sort of project, it's probably not going to matter either. So you can keep that in mind. But the Inktense has to be activated because once it's activated with water or fabric medium, it becomes permanent. So it's just a real neat quality about them. And so I'm going to just share with you how I colored my little gals and just take you through that step. I started with the Durant pencil, and this is the number 1900. And I just do a little bit up by the hairline, a little underneath the glasses, and then I did a little underneath the chin, and just a little bit on the body. I wanted to have a suggestion of color, but it's really not colored fully in. Taking a little bit of my fabric medium that I have on this little lid here, and then just activating that. Bringing some down if I want. Now, because this area is now wet, if I go back in with my pencil to darken it, it is going to activate and it's going to be intense right away. It's really going to make that color pop, but you can certainly go back in and add a little bit more color if you want. I'm also going to add some color to the lips. Just a little bit will do it. I have 3 different colors that I'm going to be adding to the hair. Kind of fun, funky colors. The Pitt pens are more opaque, so the colors are going to really pop out. I do like putting the lighter color on top. It just seems like it doesn't really blend on fabric, but it does just help smooth everything out. I hope this video has given you some ideas on what you can do with some of your sketches. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great week. Bye for now.